Lately I've been thinking about this life and how it brought me here. Staring at this man in the mirror, I see him often. He'll wipe my tears. Only if you knew what I was going through. Only if you walked it in my shoes. Certain things don't like to talk about, but I'll always remember. The chaos in my mind turned my heart out in November. I'm surrounded by too many doors, not sure which way I entered. But I'm rocking with my loved ones, let you know that front and center. Found out my skin's tough as leather, I can storm through any weather. Addiction was the hardest battle I ever endeavored. It takes a lot of effort to apply all of this pressure, being higher than prepared.
Welcome to the Messages Hope podcast, where the hope stands for hearing other people's experience. My name is Adam.
My name is Mike, and today we have Frankie in the studio with us. He's going to give us a message of hope, share a story with us. So thank you for coming, Frankie. How are you, bro?
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. It's a nervous experience, but something I'm ready for, man.
It gets chill.
Yeah.
About 2 minutes in, you'll be relaxed. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
So generally we start with, how'd you grow up, man? Where'd you grow up? What was your upbringing like? Things like that.
Grew up in Colton, San Bernardino, just in between, but mainly Colton.
Which is Southern California.
Southern California,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Single mom, father passed away early, so, you know, she was doing all she could. But, yeah, just out here, we're mainly up the street, running around. Like I said, single mom, she was just doing the best she could with 4 kids, you know, 4 rugrats running around, brats. And yeah, she's one of us. You know, she is, an addict. She has 15 years today.
Nice.
But yeah, so she's a big part of my life. Kind of grew up in the rooms. You know, went from having to show up because mom had a meeting, so she had to be there for her court card, and we had if I wanted to go to baseball practice, it was like, well, just come along with us and we'll go after.
Yeah.
So it went from that to ended up having my own court card in high school. So yeah.
All right. So what was it like growing up in Colton?
Specifically where I was, my family's from from a different area, different side of Colton. So, I'd walk down the street and I'm used to what my uncles are telling me, this street, that street, whatever. And then you run into the opposite guys and they're like, hey, well, you're over here now.
Right.
But it was, I'd say laid back, some people, they, when they come visit, they're like, God, like I know my aunts, they come and see my grandma's house and they're like, God, we got to get her out of here,
Mm-hmm.
But I loved it. To me, it was home. To my mom, it was home. Anytime we moved out of Colton, it was always kind of like, well, let's go back home, let's go back to Colton. So, but, I don't want to say it was rough or nothing crazy, but, there were, times where, things did get rough.
Okay.
So.
Like what kind of things?
Well, my mom, she, like I said, single mom, 4 kids. She did the best she could, but one of the things that, she was, one of the people in the neighborhood that were the dope dealers. She was the one that was kind of, so growing up, everybody around us knew that, so they kind of, at an early age, I know I was stealing from my mom's, under the bed at 7, 8 years old, because I'd be outside skating, trying to be a skater with all the guys on the street. And then they'd be like, hey, go grab this, or, where's your mom have this, or, so I don't know what it was, I just know every time I brought it down, everybody showed me love. Everybody was cool, everybody was, oh, yeah, and, so, yeah.
Okay. So what kind of, so basically you're taking drugs from your mom, taking it down to the skate park, right? What were they? Do you know now?
Yeah, now I know it was speed and Sherm.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah, stealing vials of that. She'd get home, flip out, swear, like, what are you guys doing? And then it started. I'd sit there and play dumb, 7, 8 years old, 6, 7 years old, and I just blame my uncle upstairs. And then they get into it, real bad. We live right next door to my grandma. So that was the cool part, was it was just kind of like, you want to get away from mom? Let's go hang out with grandma. Let's go, let's go next door.
All right.
So that was kind of like the experience I had. Growing up, we didn't really. Mom got deported probably a few years after that. In middle school. But between that, she'd lose custody of us. Just things that an addict does. She'd take off for a couple of days, and we'd be right there. We'd run out of food, and so we'd go to grandma's house, like, hey, what's going on? Make us some sopa or whatever, and then she'd flip out, like, where the heck's mom at?
Right.
So. But she had her hands full. My grandpa, he had some medical issues, so she was 100% on him. So when she did take us in, it was just kind of like in her head, it was going out and play with our friends, but we were going out and I was running amok. You know, at an early age was, you know, we were, like I said, we're going out. You know, I had all the older friends from the neighborhood. They showed, you know, in our way, showed love or looked out for us or showed us, you know, some kind of affection or like a gratification that we wanted, right? Like, you know, I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be one of the guys, you know, I wanted to be, you know, somebody that, you know, like, I mean, you said it best was, you know, there were tattoos that I wanted that now you look, you know, and it's the same guy with those tattoos begging for change outside the liquor store. So it was that kind of a situation. But grandma couldn't, you know, she couldn't control 4 kids. She had the 2 girls inside at least, and then me and my brother were just out running around, having fun in our eyes. But very quickly that led to, you know, pot, you know, or stealing. My grandma had, you know, a bunch of beer from my grandpa. He always had a pack of smokes in the back, so they buy them by the carton back in the day at Costco. So we'd be taking what we can. Like I said, when my mom was there, it was going in and dipping into her, you know, her sack and getting that and taking it out to the guys. So whether it was beer, cigarettes, you know, whatever, you know, it was something I was able to bring. And it was like, all right, well, you got your little pass for today.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
So, yeah, but I mean, aside from that, I mean, it was, you know, like I said, that led to smoking pot. I had an older homie right next door, and then a few doors down, where it was really, really easy. And it sounds crazy because I'm like, at this age, I'm still like, you know, thinking like, God, like I can't smoke with the 12-year-old. Like I can't smoke with the, you know, with the 10-year-old. Like that'd be insane, you know. But then it wasn't, you know. Then it was just like, you know, it was like, dude, like I remember I'd always come back every time my grandma sent me to the store. Come back with the change, the receipt, every penny to the dime. You know, I never stole from grandma, you know. And then there was one day she gave me an extra $20 that I didn't think she realized, and I don't think she did. She didn't realize until she went to go count her money.
Right.
You know what I mean? So she gave me the extra 20. So I brought her the change back for the 120, and the other one I just went to the neighbor. I'm like, "What's up?" Like, you know, I got $20, and then picked up some weed. That was the first time I really got like stoned, I want to say. I just woke up and I was outside with the dog. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what happened. We were smoking, you know, inside, had like a blunt or two, went outside. I thought I was going home, and woke up. And by the time I got home, dinner was ready, and my mom kind of psyched me out. So she kind of did like she was looking at me and she was kind of like, were you drinking? And look at me real serious. And I'm like, no, I wasn't drinking. Like, my mom drinks, smell my breath, you know, like. And then she's like, oh, okay, yeah. And then, I mean, 8-year-old kid at that time, you know, home stoned, eyes bloodshot red, didn't even have Visine, nothing. You know, didn't know eye drops, nothing. And I was just eating spaghetti, and I normally didn't like her spaghetti. Like, for whatever reason, I did. Like, I'd have you know, you had to eat, so I'd eat a little bit, but then I was just tearing it up, and I'm just like, dude, the spaghetti is amazing. You know, like, and it was just sauce and noodles. It wasn't even like meatballs. It wasn't like meat in the sauce. It was just sauce and noodles. And so she was looking at me, and I just remember getting like a whooping in my life because she was just like, I know you're high. Like, I know. And I'm just like, no, Mom, like, you thought I was drunk. And then she's like, no, you're high. Like, you know, anyway, so that kind of led into like me finessing and, you know, working my way around and saying like, no, like, you know, trying to get my way. But very quickly I realized, you know, that wasn't it. And ended up, you know, getting caught. She would do things to kind of, I guess, fill the void because she'd be gone for a few months, go to treatment or get arrested, get busted. And she'd be gone for months at a time, and we'd be stuck at grandma's house, moving to, you know, I know for a while I was with my aunt in Temecula, and that was kind of like paradise, right? Like, you know, we got to get out of here. She was a teacher down in Paris. So that was where I kind of got my escape. But something that, you know, I mean, as kids, you know what I mean, especially from out, you know, from a neighborhood, it was just like fighting. You know, it was like, well, let me stand out somehow, some way. You know, it was always getting into fights. I remember my aunt being like stressed because she's like a teacher at this school, and I keep getting suspended, and like she teaches, so it's not like she can be at home with me, you know what I mean? So she finally just told my mom, once my mom got home, was like, you need to take this kid, like get this kid out of here, you know? Like not in the sense of that, but she was fed up. Yeah, that led to, you know, going back to Colton, you know, and I remember this story very, you know, clear because this was the start of like kind of like the downward spiral. Was my mom bought me an airsoft gun. Like, I don't know if you remember like the water stores back in the day. They always sold the little BB guns in there.
Yeah.
And I had the Tech 9 looking one, and took it to school for whatever reason. And like the whole way walking to school, me and my boy were like shooting cats and dogs. You know, But we were just on the whole way, just shooting, like harassing people, and people obviously called the school. They knew we were walking to, and even making it inside the class. Like teacher came up to me, was like, "What's up? I heard you got something for me," and I'm confused, like what the heck. So ended up going into the office, look at my bag, and I blamed it on, me and my brother took a shooting the day before. Like I just forgot, I forgot to take it out. And they weren't having that. So that was fourth grade. It's crazy to say, but got kicked out of school, went to continuation school. That was, that school specifically was right up the street from, the Cedar House where my mom was, right in Bloomington. It was Washington Alternative. And there was where, because there was only like 3 kids in my grade.
Yeah.
The rest were like high school, middle school. A few in like the grades older, but so we were around older kids, we were around older influences, and they kind of swayed us to do certain things. And I remember one time I got we didn't go through the metal detector. I guess I don't know, at a certain age you can't have, it was just, or maybe it was just too much work for them. But I remember the elementary school would walk around the metal detector. So when I was on the bus, one of the guys came up to me, was like, he was counting a wad of cash, and I remember just staring at it. Like, damn, then he looked up at me and he was like, "What's up?" Like, I'm gonna need help. Like they're doing it was Wednesdays when they did the metal detector, or Tuesdays and Thursdays when they did the metal detector. And he was like, "How we get this into school? Like, you're in elementary school, right?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah." So he gave me something, put it in my sock, went in. He ended up still getting popped for something. I think he had a blade in his shoe or something like dumb. And I got stuck with this Coke sack. So
Wow.
I'm like 5th grade. Like, fifth grade at the time with this Coke sack, and I'm just like not knowing what to do with it, and I went straight to the chicks. So I was like, "Hey, like, what do I do with this?" And then, they obviously took it to the restroom, and they're doing their thing, and that's where I found out, like, okay, if you're either gonna make some money off this or you're gonna be really, really cool with people. So
All right.
that's what kind of spun that around.
So 5th grade,
Yeah.
right? You're already in continuation school.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't even know they did that.
I didn't know
I went
that
to
either.
continuation school, but in high school.
Yeah, I never even went to continuation school. I just never went to school. Once I got to high school, it was like downhill. I mean, it started happening in middle school, and I was like in what were they called? Alternative studies.
Yeah.
Right, where like you go to one class
Get your
all day.
packet.
You know what I'm saying? No, it was like you go to one class all day, bro.
Okay.
So you have one teacher, one set of classes, and they teach everything in that class, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you did good for that week, they would always take us to like this burger spot across the street. You know what I'm saying? As a little field trip.
George's.
Well,
Yeah.
Arrowview, right? And so like, but once I got to high school, bro, I was like, I would show up to the front of the high school, and all my boys would show up. Oh, I got $2. I got $3.
Yeah.
I got $4. Right? We get a fucking tall can, get all fucked up off of one tall can, and a fucking bag of weed and a blunt, and we're good for the day. And then it was crazy because my buddy's grandma would drop us off, bro. So she would drop us off in the morning. We would meet up. We would leave. Go get high and ditch all day, and then we would come back at the end of school to be picked up by his grandma to go home. You know what I'm saying? And back then, bro, we didn't have like my mom couldn't afford a phone. Like if she got a phone, it was on for like maybe 2 months, and then it'll get cut off. So they had no way of contacting my mom. So by the time my mom got the paper, it was already like 3 months of like absent, like consistently, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Consistently. So So 5th grade, you're already experiencing, right, like what drugs could do, right? I'm pretty sure I shared about this on the podcast, but there's a lady who shared at a convention once. She said people talk about how they use not to feel, right? She talked about how she used to feel wanted, to feel accepted, to feel a part of, right? And that's kind of like a reoccurring theme in a lot of people with substance use disorder, right? And it kind of sounds like that's what's already starting to happen with you at a very young age, right?
Yeah.
And so where did it go from there, right? Because now you see this substance and you're like, okay, this substance is either going to make me a lot of money, right, or it's going to make me really popular, right? And the truth is that if it's done right, it could probably do both, right?
Yeah.
So what happened in 5th grade? Where did it go from there?
So like so from there, got out of school. Obviously, the dude was waiting at the bus stop and was like, "Where's my shit at?" And I told him straight up, I was like, "Damn, I gave it to the chicks," and he was just like, kind of pissed off, but at least he knew. I guess he had somebody that he was taking it to specifically. So now he's like, all right, there's some more people at the school that are messing around. Yeah. You know, so he kind of used that as, well, I'm getting kicked out. I'm going to county school. Just meet me at my house before you go to school every morning. And that's what I did. You know what I mean? I showed up at his house. His house is literally right in front of the bus stop. I remember his mom would be outside smoking a cigarette real early, arguing with his stepdad about whatever's going on, right? And I just showed up. He gave me something, and he'd be like, hey, just come back with this much at least, you know? But that was kind of like, you know, I ended up being a real dick. I like to, I don't know, at the time I didn't have a dad, so I didn't have like too much structure. I had my Uncle Johnny, which was, you know, he was one of us as well. But just real heavy, he was just kind of, you know, don't take no shit from nobody. You don't want to be, you know, because I was kind of not telling him what's going on, obviously, right? You don't want to be, you know, you're not that young telling, hey, I'm doing this at school. But, you know, he kind of figured out, like, where do you get these pro clubs from? You know, it was little things like pro clubs or coming home and instead of, you know, I don't know why at that age, but I had the big monster that with the closable can. So I'm walking around with this big monster, go get a pro club from the store. And he's like, what do you have money for this? You know, mind you, we're growing up on welfare, you know. We had Social Security from my dad at the time. So that's what was funding everything. So they were kind of like, we know you're not, you know, we're not giving you lunch money. You get lunch for free at school. Like, what's going on? And then I was just like, no, like, you know, rent, you know, so-and-so's looked out for me, so-and-so's mom, and then he was just like, not every day. Yeah. You know, it's logical. You know, now I look back at it, I'm like, dude, you're slow, like, you know, but, yeah, he's like, there's no way you're doing that every day. Like, no one's buying someone a new shirt every day for no reason. That ended up getting me kicked out of there because for whatever reason, he called the school and was like, hey, can you check up on my nephew? And then had a big knot in my sock. You know, I had a huge knot in my sock. And then, so I went up to the school. Well, I went up, and they would make you, when you got in trouble, they make you stand outside. When you wait for the principal, they, for whatever reason, have you stand in this little square box outside in the sun and make you think about what's going on and then kind of like amplify, like, all right, dude, you're in trouble, but we're going to make you sweat it out, literally. You know, so that was what was going on. And I kept scratching my sock, right? I had pants on. I kept scratching, like making sure it's still there, lifting my sock up. And they're watching you. They're inside right behind you watching you, all right? So when I went in, you know, principal looked into my sock and found what he found. And everything was kind of like, you know, I went from the good kid at home, because mind you, getting kicked out of school, you know, yeah, it was kind of like a downfall, but like, you know, compared to what my family was going on with, at least I was in school, right? I wasn't one of the cousins at home. I wasn't one of the cousins running the streets, so I was in school. So my grandma, like, I just remember my grandma having to come, and my grandma didn't drive. My grandma was real traditional, stay at home. You know, my grandfather came over, built the house literally with his hand. I mean, it was a little bit there, but built the most of the house with his hands, right? And I remember her showing up, and I was freaking out. I'm like, what is, I've never seen this lady outside of the house. Like, what's going on? You know, and she's there with my aunt. My aunt had to come all the way down from Rancho, and they were just both pissed off. They were just like, you know. And then I remember the you know, the principal saying he's a good kid, he just has bad influences. And then I was just kind of like, I was just like, you know, taking it as, all right, you call me, you want to call me a bad kid, I'll be a bad kid. And you know, it was just going against the grain. It was just a lot of like, you know, not having you know, stuff at home, not having parents at home to kind of guide you in the right direction. I was just, you know, my grandma couldn't do it all, you know, so. Yeah, that led to a lot of, you know, a lot of headaches and a lot of stuff going on.
So what kind of, you said that you had cousins and stuff like that were doing a lot worse things than you, and you were kind of the good kid. Like, what kind of stuff, do you feel like that stuff was influeing you, and what kind of stuff was that?
Yeah, 100%.
You had at home?
Yeah, 100%. My cousin Sisto, who, you know, currently passed away, you know, it was, you know, a bunch of different cousins, but I remember him specifically, you know, he taught me how to steal from a store, you know what I mean? He taught me how to do this, and he was just in the streets, you know, he was just they were in South Colon, so South Colon was kind of like, you don't go into that bridge unless you have to, you know, it's like you don't want to go into there unless you have to. Yeah. But I remember at a really early age, he got charged with a double homicide.
Wow.
And then it didn't, you know, he got tried luckily as a kid, but yeah, so, you know, I remember, you know, you just heard the name, you just heard, like, you know, just the rumors going around, like, oh, so-and-so killed somebody, or so-and-so stabbed somebody, or so-and-so, you know, they jumped this person. And that was appealing to me, you know, like, that was like, because you heard the buzz in the street, and like everybody knew about it. I remember going to the library, and them asking me like, hey, what's going on with your cousin? And I didn't even know at the time. I didn't know, like we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have what's going on. And I remember asking my mom, and she called his mom and found out what had happened. And from there, it was just an influence, right? It was just like, like so-and-so got this much love from here, and so-and-so, was kind of like you were saying, like, like got all the handshakes, got the love, like people would come around, they knew who he was, and then I was just a little kid with him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, stuff like that. I had a cousin that, was real big, even from an early age, like always smoking weed, but he was selling weed at the same time. And that just obviously, right, he'd show up to the skate park, and all the stoners that were skating would stop and kind of, go say what's up, get what they got, and then go back to skating.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, like dude's like literally like stopping the show. Like, he got everybody stopping what they're doing, come say what's up, come do what buy what they're gonna buy and get out of there. So I remember being in the car and I seen 2 big bags of weed. Obviously they're pound bags, and I'm just like, dang, dude, like, and I ended up taking some out of there and then trying to do it my own little thing. And I came back to him with some money, and then he was like, where'd you get this from? And it was kind of the same thing, right, with my uncle, like, trying to say, oh, I got it from X, Y, and Z, and, I got it from Uncle Johnny, and Uncle Johnny's not going to give you $100. Like, like, dude's asking, he's asking people for money for beer. He was like, hey, swap me $5, So, yeah, so that was kind of like, the weed selling, and then the aggressive, vicious, stuff going on that kind of gave you the, respect, or not respect, but kind of just, people were scared of you, so they were cool with you.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that going on, and that was literally, a few blocks down. So if I wanted to go act a fool, I can just walk, to the neighborhood. And but it was walking back that where it always catch me up, because I had a big mouth, right? So I would want to act like I'm from I was never, never got jumped in, but I would want to act like, oh yeah, let's go see what they got going on. And then real quickly, I found out that, okay, they don't get along with my cousins. They're saying names of people that I care about, and they're like, oh, fuck so-and-so. And I'm like, hey, yo, like, come on, like, I'm right here. So I would speak my mind, and then it led to every time I left Grandma's block, they were waiting right there at Chavez Park. And I knew it. I'd either, try to go around, or I'd fucking go right through and, get it, get what I had coming to me, I guess, just all the smack talking. They finally caught up with me, and they'd catch me, and or I'd run, or, it was just a bunch of stuff going on at that park at that time. Yeah, it was just, just a bunch of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So when did like using, drinking, and all that stuff like really take place?
I mean, because like I said, as weird as it is, like my grandma always had beer for my grandpa. She always had a bottle of tequila for him. So it was like something that I can always go and get. So it wasn't like I didn't notice it, but I want to say like actually me using and getting high and getting drunk, actually partying. That was probably 7th grade. 7th grade. I remember my grandpa had passed away. They had all his stuff right there. So while everybody's grieving, they told us you don't have to go to school today. I still went to school. I at least started to go. I started to walk, but I got a pack of smokes in this pocket, and then I got a tall can of beer. So I go, with my buddies, and they're scared. They're scared to drink the beer. And I just cracked it open. And I started drinking it, and then that's what kind of led it to being more of a party, being more of a, I realized right then, like, all right, some of my friends aren't kind of like gonna roll with me, so I gotta go with the kids that are getting in trouble. Like, right, not so much getting in trouble like in the face, but like at least behind the scenes, you knew who was gonna drink with you, who was gonna smoke with you, who was gonna do what with you. So 7th grade, that's when it started to spiral, because I already had the all the stuff that happened at the continuation school. Obviously had a little bit of money in my pocket, nothing crazy, but that's what kind of I remember smashing up ibuprofen, real like into powder, and then putting like, I forgot what it was, but putting it in there and saying it was Coke. I take it to school and be like, oh, I got some Coke. Who wants some Coke? And it was a big old bag. I remember I gave it to this chick, and she gave me $20 for it. And then it was like, she went and did into it, and she's like, it tastes like a crushed up pill. And in my head, I'm like, somebody's watching me. Uh-huh. Like, that's when the paranoia kicked in, right? I'm like, how did she know exactly what I did? And that's when the paranoia kicked in. And then just smoking, that's when I started to smoke to relax and try to be cool. But real paranoid kid, like I say, from getting jumped. I remember the first, just wearing a Dodger hat. I remember the Rancho Cucamonga, the 66ers used to be the minor league team for the Dodgers. We went into the team store, stole, everybody got their own hat, put it behind the back, whatever, walked out. And I wore that hat in the park, and now they had a reason. Hey, bro, you from LA? I'm like, nah, I'm a Dodger fan. Shut up. Boom, 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 boom. So then from then I was like, fuck that, I'm a Yankee fan. You know what I mean? Like my neighbor next door, I call him my cousin, but yeah, it's my nivor next door. They were all Yankeed out, and I was like, all right, well, I don't get beat up when I wear this. So, but yeah, middle school started to spark everything. My grandpa was, he had fell off a roof. He like I said, he built the house with his bare hands. So he was up there fixing, I think, the AC line. Tripped over a cord and like hit the pavement. So he wasn't all the way there, but he still knew. So like when he'd see us, it was kind of like that. Like he'd point at us and whoop our ass just for no reason. So it was like we had somebody there. Not saying not structurally, but just had somebody there to be scared of. So once he passed away, it was just kind of like, all right, it's a free for all. Yeah. And I remember vividly, like, nobody being at home. My grandma was kind of obviously, like, in a funk. She just lost her husband, so she'd be in the back room. I'm like, all right, grandma, I'm going to go to a party. I got baseball practice, so I got this. And I remember just leaving, and then finally she told me, she's like, you're not even in baseball. And I'm like, oh, well, it's so-and-so's team. Like, he's looking out. And it really was, like, our neighbor had a team, and I just practiced with them. But that was my excuse to go to the park.
Right.
I'm going with, Devin's dad wouldn't go to the park. And that was that, and then that led to hanging out, till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I remember she did her best, dude. Like, she'd come looking for us. Like, I remember my grandma, like, small little lady, kind of like in pajamas looking clothes, but she'd be in the park with this flashlight, you know what I mean? And she'd come from across the street. So we knew because it was Mount Vernon, and they didn't have a crosswalk at the time. So when all the cars stopped, and the little old lady was coming, I was like, oh, shit. And then the homies would tell me, like, bro, get out of here. You're going to get us all in trouble. Like, just go home. And I didn't want to go home, but we went home. So she did the best she could. She catches at parties. I remember my friend, I moved in at the end of the street. His parents would let him have parties at the house. We'd be right there partying. And she knew, because we're not home at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. And it's like, it's just, she'd come looking, and she knew exactly where to follow the music, go straight into the house, and she'd walk in, and everybody would stop the music and look at her, and they'd be scared, all this stuff going on. So, she'd snatch us up, do the best she could, but it got to the point where she couldn't. Like, I remember in high school, like, she just couldn't, like, I had summer jobs at this park, and they'd pay you like $200. You work 200 hours. And it was kind of like, they call it the volunteer program, right? So it's like a volunteer, but you're a teenager from 13 to 15. And you're able to work all summer for $250, but you did 200 hours. So now I'm like, man, that's like child slavery, like, whatever they call it, like child labor laws. But like, it was a way to kind of like at least get out of the house, hang out, and yeah, that was the way to kind of just get out the house.
So one thing you mentioned that I wanted to ask you about. You said your mom got deported.
Yes.
How old were you when that happened?
So she was like, I know you guys probably see like the picture, like the cages, right, with all the kids. She was like in the deportation for like 2 years. So I want to say from 6th to 8th grade. And then 8th grade, she was actually like, yeah, they sent me back to Mexico. So like that all middle school, she was. All middle school? Yeah, she was in like the process of getting deported.
Processing, yeah. And then has she come back now, or?
No. So they said 10 years. They gave her 10 years. But for whatever, so, they gave her 10 years. So she was like, I'm not coming back. Like, she told me, like, we're not, that I'm not gonna be able to see you guys. And she would give us like this sob story. But she'd just say, like, her thing was chin up, chest out. Like, don't be a punk. It was always don't be a punk. Like, don't be a sissy. Like, even because in her addiction, like, they went from her being, the hot shot, like, she had the new car. She had, at least we were all in clean clothes for the time, to getting pulled over and her going all the way, like probably like a half mile while the cop has the sirens on, right? Lights on going. And she's like, just needed to get in front of the street to at least, that way we can walk home, to my grandma's house. So I remember things like that, right? But yeah, once she got deported, she was just like, she kind of gave, I want to say it sounded like she gave up, She was just kind of like, there's not much I can do for you guys. Listen to grandma, like, and she was real worried because like at that time, I'm 12, 11, 12 years old, and I'm hanging out with 17, 18-year-old kids, 16-year-old kids. Like, I'm obviously easily influenced. It was like, hey, go take that, or hey, go try this, or, you know. So she's seen it. Like, if I, obviously, as a parent now, I see it. Like, I don't want my daughter at 12 years old hanging out with all the 16-year-old girls, you know, because there's something that you got to develop into. But yeah, that was like my, you know, because I had an older brother. I had 3 older brothers. And that's just a wild, you know, wild side. Like, I got 2 brothers from my dad, a brother from my mom with a different dad. And I got a brother that's a cop, well, he's a, you know, detective now. And I got a brother that shot a cop. You know, so it's kind of like both sides of the spectrum, right? So it's like, you know, on my dad's side, I knew I could get away with a lot more. You know, on my mom's side, it was like, you're not getting away with that shit over here.
Yeah.
So I knew that at an early age. So once she got deported, a lot of my dad's side started reaching out. And then that's when I was going to barbecues. I was going to hang out. I was going to kickbacks. And then I started to learn, like, okay, like, damn, I got a whole other family over here that doesn't judge me. It doesn't care, like, you know, like, if I cuss, doesn't care if I take a beer out the fridge. Doesn't. So I was just hanging out. But, yeah, when she got deported, it was just kind of all downhill. And then I was like, you know, you're a kid. Like, I was a mama's boy. You know what I mean? Like, when I got in trouble, it was straight to my mom. You know, when I got expelled from school, you're not a bad kid. You're not a bad kid. You just made one bad decision. And I was a badass kid. So I'm like, you know, I was a bad. I look at it now, like, I look at my nephew, and I'm just like, dude, like, I tone him down. You know, I try to tell him whatever. But, yeah, dude, I mean, to think about it, like, when I think about it, like, when I was in treatment, I was thinking about, like, damn, dude, you really got kicked out of school in the 4th grade. Like, all the way to to the 6th grade, you know, and then when they had to let you go to middle school. So, yeah, that was, you know, just kind of that there.
So what was using like as an adult, right? So did you graduate high school?
Luckily, yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, I got a car in the 10th grade. You know, bought my car. Like I said, I saved up money from the volunteering program like 2 years, but then they hired me on to the city, and I'm like 15 years old. I was making like $700-800 a week. 900 if I stayed like, you know, extra. You know, obviously doing a little bit overtime, but like, you know, then it wasn't like age restrictions. So I was making good money. And it was like, if we weren't having a party and filling up the NOS tanks and getting in the keg and doing all that and trying to, you know, making money back, I was just saving. I was real good at saving money. And 10th grade, I got a car. Nobody could tell me anything. Nobody could say this or that. I got my own car. Like, you don't even have a car. Like, what are you like? I remember telling my uncle vividly, like, you don't even have a car. And I bought my own car, bro. And then he just beat the shit out of me. But, you know, like, don't talk to me like that. But that, you know, that kind of gave me, like, I want to say cockiness, because, like, as I got older, you know, started getting sales jobs. You know, I remember at 18, graduated high school. I went into this job because they said $500 always unapproved account was, like, the terms on Craigslist. Yeah. And I drove the bus all the way to Riverside, from Colton to Riverside. And I showed up, and it was a sales job. And they're like, well, you know, if you sell this alarm, like, how much do you should get paid? I'm like, oh, $250. Give me $250. I'll go out there and slang them all day. You know, it's like legit dope dealing. You know, it's just, you know, I'm like, oh, well, you get $500. So that just instantly clicked, you know, a switch in my head. And I was like, all right, $500 per account. If I do 3 accounts, like, I'm making more than parents, you know, a lot of parents at the time. And that's what it was. You know, I just kind of hustled my way in and knocked door to door, sold these alarms, sold these accounts, and 6 months, made 50 grand. First year out of high school, 6 months, made 50 grand. And I didn't know what I was doing with the money. Like, I was fucking it off and doing whatever and hanging out. But that's when I want to say my using, because in high school, I kind of skipped that over. But I had torn ACL in my meniscus in my knee. So they prescribed me, like, and I had this conversation with my aunt on Mother's Day. I went to go see my grandmother, and they prescribed me Soma, Percocet, and Norcos. Why a 15-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid's getting all this medication? Who the fuck knows? Yeah. But I was taking it. And then mind you, I have all this anxiety because I'm thinking people are chasing me, people are watching me, so here's some Xanax to go with it, you know? And, dude, when I did take it all for the first 3 days, I'd be out of it. You know, I'd be doped out, sleeping. And then my uncle came up to me and was like, hey, let me get 2 of your pain pills. I was like, all right, here. I'm like, you know, to me, it was like ibuprofen. Here, go ahead. Like, the doctor gave it to me. I'll get some more in a month. And then I realized he was selling them to the neighbor. So I didn't know what he was selling them for, right? I didn't know what went for, right? So then she asked me, because I gave him the whole bottle, and he gave her the bottle with my name on it. And so she asked me, like, hey, do you get medicine every month? And I'm like, yeah, I do. You know, so that started that relationship there where I had to block her, but, you know, a little bit after, you know, treatment. But she would blow me up. Hey, do you have this? Do you have this? And I just give it to her. And I was getting ripped off. I was getting like $1.50 a pill. You know what I mean? But she was buying everything. It was like $300 at a time. So let's go get high. Let's go get an ounce. Let's go do this. Or, you know, so that kind of, like I said, that led into when I got older, you know, I'm making more money now. Like, all right, well, let me pick up the whole script of Percocet. Let me pick up the whole script of Norcos. Let me pick up the whole script of Xanax. Like, now it's like I wasn't getting it from my doctor. Let me figure out a way to get it.
Right.
Which quickly, you know, I remember I was thinking in my head, I'm like, where did it go bad at? Like, where did it go bad? And I got sent out for my job to go help the Vegas office, like build an office, right? They're like, this little kid can fucking sell. We don't know what he does or how he does it, but he can fucking sell. And he sells good accounts, you know?
Yeah.
And so I get sent out to Vegas. I got this nice penthouse, you know what I mean? I'm not even old enough to drink yet, so I can't go to the casino. I'm like 19, 20. Nice penthouse, paid for. All I got to do is show up to work, train these fucking guys how to sell, and close their accounts. You know, and it was easy. You know, we got out there, and then I figured out, like, I figured out who was what, you know, like who was using, who was doing this, or who was, you know, who knew where to get some weed at. And that's what made it a little more easy, you know. That's what made it, now I was sending money to my boy back home to send me some Xanax out here because nobody had Xanax. So I was like, let me get some Xanax. And then I was doing 2 or 3 a day, and I just remember passing out in the office, and my manager coming in, like, what's going on? I was like, oh, my bad. Like, I was up all night with a chick, like. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like, good. So you're enjoying yourself. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like, it's fucking amazing, you know? And I was high the entire time, you know? But as long as I was selling, as long as the job was done, as long as the money was being made, like, you know, like, it was all right, you know? And I was away from my grandma, so I was just sending her money home. And she'd always get worried, like, but are you okay? Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, what do you need paid for? You know, what do you need money for? What do you know, let me send it to Felix. You know, at the time, it wasn't, like, Zelle wasn't a thing, but it was, like, the Walmart to Walmart.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, sending money back home or coming back home for the weekend, getting all the shit that I needed and going back for the week. But, yeah, that was kind of, you know, just where it really spelled out. And then it was fun for a long time. Like, I'm not going to say, like, I was miserable. Like, no, it was fun for a long time because I had, you know, like I said, everything was paid for. I didn't have rent. Like, my grandma was, like, asked for $500 a month, which was like, you know, here, go ahead.
One sale.
Yeah, you know, but it ended up being like, you know, I'll do that and I'll pay the electricity bill. So now me and my brother are bumping heads, and my brother, like, you know, obviously, like, not everybody can sell like that, you know, so he's just working a job. Like, you know, for a long time, he was getting his Social Security check. And yeah, he was just, you know, our sister, she'd passed away while we were in high school. So that was kind of like, you know, a little touchy, you know, situation. But as I got older, I used that as an excuse. Okay, well, I'm gonna go see Francine, my dad. Like, let me get some beer. Let me get this. Let me have this. And we'll go to the cemetery and we'll get faded. And that was a tradition. Like, that was like a thing for a long time. But yeah, it was just, you know, spouted out, you know, a few years down the road. Next thing I know is like, there wasn't a day that I couldn't use. Like, no matter how broke I was, no matter how this, you know, I'd figure out a way to get at least some kind of money or do something to be in a situation to where I can go pick up, you know, and it was fun, you know, and then until it wasn't, right? But yeah, that was just kind of like real heavy on benzos, and then it led to opiates, and then yeah, next thing I know, I was snorting pills. I was, you know, doing whatever they said to do to get higher and higher, and like, you just popped them. I'm like, yeah, like, no, you do this, you do that, you know. I'm like, oh shit, like, all right. So instead of doing 2 or 3, I can just do 1 and be good.
Right.
And yeah, that, you know, I got busted at around 24, 25. I was in a bucket, you know, a little shitty shit show of a car, and got pulled over, got arrested, had all the dope on me, you know, and then that led to, here's a court card, you know. So now I'm in the same rooms just to get the signature. And then I found out how to, you know, forge a signature and switch it up every week. So now I'm like, all right, well, let me finish these classes, and let me finish these 6 months classes in 2 months or in a month or whatever. Took it back, and I just know where you went to these many meetings in a month. And I'm like, yeah, they said go to 3 meetings a day, and like, there's meetings in the morning and night and evening, and like, all right. So the judge accepted it, but then I was like, all right, like, you don't know, but, I'm like, all right, I'm using the system. But, yeah, that's when it kind of spiraled out. Stopped using because I had to, like it wasn't because I wanted to, it's because I had to.
Right.
I came out, I was clean, then, got put on probation. And I was good for a while. For a while I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just smoke here and there, or I'll just drink. My thing was just drink, let's just drink. So like when I show up to the family parties, I'm showing up with a bottle and I'm like, hey, take a shot. And then he'd be like, nah, no, man. I was the one that, no, come here, motherfucker, we're gonna take a shot. Like, with even my little cousins, let's go take a shot. And they're looking at me like, what the fuck? Show up with the Nas tanks and all that. And it was a party for a long time. Yeah, for a long time. And then, yeah.
What was it like at the end?
Using against your own will, right? Like, it wasn't fun. It was like, I had my daughter, so we got, my grandma got Alzheimer's, and she's in this big house, right? Because they had 9 kids. So there was like a big 6-bedroom, but it was 2 stories. So, and there was times where I'm at work, everybody's at work, she's alone by herself, and she'll walk off, or like, she started wandering. The neighbors would find her on the street. So they sold the house. So we're going through all this, like, no, this is our home. Like, we grew up here. Like, at least let me try to buy it, whatever. And then getting our own place. And I remember telling my uncles and aunts, like, I don't want to move in with my brother and sister. I can get my own place. They get their own place. Like, I don't want to live with them. My brother doesn't even pay bills now, because we had to pay the $500, right? And I found out he wasn't paying it. So now I'm pissed off. I was like, dog, like, I've been paying it this entire time. You haven't been paying $1. So how are you going to pay rent anyway? So we're in the same place. We're in the same apartment. I'm sipping lean at the time. I'm drinking lean, popping pills, thinking it's okay. Like, at least these drugs are socially acceptable. When I showed up with a syringe, everybody was like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? Like, relax, dude. Like, it's not that serious.
Relax.
But
hey, calm the fuck down. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I remember being in there, being high as shit. And then my chick texted me like, fuck, I don't got my period, Ended up obviously being pregnant. So I stopped, dude. Like, I went cold turkey. How the fuck I did it, I don't know. Went cold turkey for like 9 months straight. Had the baby. So at the time, I'm probably like, well, I'm smoking weed and drinking, right? But I'm not popping pills. I'm not sipping lean anymore. I'm not spending, $1,800 on a pint. I'm not doing this dumb shit that I was doing. And it was just like, I remember being in our apartment. We ended up moving out, and I was like, fuck it, I got my own spot, I got my family coming in, I got a good job, like, let's party, and then that's when it picked back up. But it wasn't like party to have fun, it was kind of like, fuck, dude, like, I got this monkey on my back. So it was just kind of like, just to avoid what was really going on. And that's when I started to be real hard on like Dilaudid. Dilaudid was like stronger than Oxy for a little bit if you do enough. So I was like, all right, well, let me do this. It's cheaper. And, I remember, fast forward, my lady's 8 months pregnant, about to give birth next month, and it's Christmas Eve. We celebrate on Christmas Eve, and I had all my pills in one jar, and it was dark. It was dark as shit. I probably haven't used for a couple of months. But I had all the Oxy, but I had fake Oxy too, right? So I had the, the Fetty 30s and the real 30s in the same fucking jar, and I just popped one. I'm at the family party. I pop one. I go back inside. We're having fun. We're drinking, whatever. Get back to the house, and I just remember falling out. I fell into my chick's arms. I was calling her because I felt sick, and I'm like, I just fell out. And she knew what the fuck it was, like, right? She knew, like, all right, this dude's high as shit. So she hit me with a Narcan, came back, and I was just like, what the that was like, all right, bro, you're sick right now, like, and then the Narcan, I don't know if it makes you sick. Like, when you get brought back from it, like, you're like dope sick.
I've done it 3 times.
Yeah, see? Yeah. So, like, it was like...
Oh, I didn't do it to myself.
It was done as soon as put a Narcan in his own nose.
One time I did do that, actually.
Just to see or what?
No, I was trying to prove a chick wrong that I was clean.
Oh.
And I wasn't clean. So I went straight into withdrawal.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
What is it called?
Precipitated withdrawal.
Yeah. I know what that word is. I just can't say it. Because, like, when you work in treatment, like in a detox, right, you have to know, like, when's the last time they use, right? Especially for fentanyl. Because fentanyl has such a long shelf life, bro. Like, a long fucking in your system, half-life, that fucking, if you give it too early, bro, they'll go into participated with drugs, and it can be very dangerous, bro. Yeah. I've had people like when I worked in detox, like people would lie, right, just because they wanted the Suboxone right away, right. And and for fentanyl, you can't give them Suboxone. It's actually Subutex, right?
Yeah.
But for any like regular opioid users, right, they would lie.
Yeah.
And they would say, no, I feel sick. Like, I didn't use for 2 days or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And then, are you sure? And like, yeah. You give it to him, bro, and it's just, all right, we're taking him to the ER now, my boy. You know what I'm saying?
There's nothing you can do.
No. Except for go through it, put some fluids in you. Yeah.
Yeah, or use an ungodly amount of drugs.
Yeah.
That's what I did one of the times.
Is it?
Yeah. Made me feel better, but.
An ungodly amount of drugs.
Yeah, I had to use a lot. And I didn't get high. I just got less sick.
Yeah.
But it's terrible.
And I remember my friend had a Narcan in his dog one time. Like, yeah, all the foil, right? You sit there and you smoke, he's smoking straight fentanyl, so dog's licking the fucking rock, and then goes and, starts fucking seizing, and he Narcan. We're sitting there thinking it's like, what the hell's going on? He Narcan's the dog, and then he comes back to life. At the time, we're like, damn, that's cool. Like, it worked on the dog. Like, we're good. We'll never die. And yeah, it was like a weird way to look at it. You know what I mean? It was just like, fuck, dude, like, but so after that whole episode, my fiance was on me. I'd be in the restroom for 2 hours at a time. Like, dude, you're not taking a shit for that long.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing in there? And then finally she just walked in. Like, I'm busting down. I have everything right there, everything set up. Don't even have my pants off, right? I could at least act like I'm on the toilet and get out of here, But I'm sitting down with my pants on, sitting on the fucking on the shower or in the bathtub. Everything was ready to go, and then she just looked at me like, "Fuck, I knew this is what you were doing." And at the time, like, I'm scared, right? Like, I'm like, damn, like, I didn't have a dad. I didn't want to be a shit dad, and my dad obviously, died from a heart attack from using dope so much and just at an early age, and. So I was like, damn, I'm gonna be the same fucking piece of shit that my dad. Not to say my dad was a piece of shit. I love, I never met I didn't know my dad at the later age. He passed when I was like a year old, like 8 months old. But I always had a respect for my dad. Like, all my aunts and uncles, everybody had nothing but good things to say about my dad. Like, my dad was a man, my dad was this, my dad was that. So it kind of gave me like, all right, well, at least I'm gonna be a good dad. Like, at least I won't, like, being at the meetings and you hear all these like fucking horror stories. And like, well, I'm not that bad. Like, all the drugs I do is socially acceptable. Like, rappers are talking about them. There's music, whatever, right? But there's country music about fucking heroin. Like, there's a lot of shit that's like, So I'm going, thinking I'm all right. And then I was thinking of something, but yeah, I just remember going in and saying, like I said, I'm not that bad and I'll be all right. Like, I'm not, homeless, so I didn't fucking lose my family. And then until it was the time that you're fucking about to lose your fucking family, right? Like, my fiance, she's a normie. She smoked pot here and there. Like, we'd go out and party, do some pot, drink. But she checked me a lot. Like I said, like, I've known her since high school. So, like, there was a time where I had a Maserati, and I'm thinking, like, dude, I come back. Like, I lived in L.A. working for ADT, and I'd come back home. Everybody wanted to hang out. Everybody wanted to ride in the car or go do what we were doing, whatever, just because it's a nicer car. And I'm picking her up, talking to her which kind of way I want to, and she checked me. She's like, fuck that, let me out right here. Like, I'll get an Uber. Like, you're not going to talk to me like that. And I was like, damn, it's the only chick that's fucking checked me like that. So didn't matter whether I had the money, whether I didn't have the money. Like, when I didn't have the money is when I felt like she really cared more. You know what I mean? She was really there. But, yeah, so fell into her arms. She Narcaned me. She found me in the restroom like 2 months later, getting loaded. But now she was in school. I'm paying all the bills. So it was kind of like, well, fuck it, you're stressing me out. I gotta do something. Like, you're putting a lot on my plate right now, so I'm gonna do something to get at least ease the edge. And then that led to, I remember like 2 pills a day to fuck, dude. Like, right before I went into treatment, I was doing like, the 8 milligram Dilaudid, doing like 7 or 8 of those a day. 2, 30 milligram oxys, and I was just fucking loaded. Like, I'd be good though. Like, I can drive, I can talk to you, like, but I'd fall asleep halfway through our conversation. I'd sit there and nod out, and I'd wake up and be like, dog, I just got been working all day, and then everybody's like, bro, you don't even work hard. Like, you got an easy job. Like, you sit there and you talk to people. So it's like, there was no, like, I got friends that work at the railroad, I got friends that doing construction. They're like, dog, like, like, be for real. But, yeah, I remember trying to just go cold turkey. I'm like, you know what? I did it before. Like, I'll do it again. My lady didn't even know at the time. So the day before, I went cold turkey. Boom, I won't do it. Smoking weed. I go out to walk the dogs, and like my dog, he's an English bulldog, so they're excited, right? It was just the one at the time, so he goes and he takes off, and he fucking yanks me. Boom. I'm like, all right, we're good. We get back home. It's been about like 12 hours, 18 hours, probably a whole day since I've used. And then I'm sick, dog. And I hit up my homie who was heavy on fentanyl, and he went and got clean at right at IVRS, and they got him situated. He stayed there first 3 days. He was like, yeah, dude, you going for 3 days. They pump you with fluid, and they give you, when you leave, you get a prescription of, if you want to take it, you can take it. If you're not, just don't fucking use, And he was clean, dog. And I'm like, bro, like, how are you? And I hate to say it, but I'm like, how are you clean?
Right.
Like, you're coming to me every day, like buying this or clucking this or doing this just to get by. And I'm like, dog, if he can do it, I can do it. Like, we'll be good. And I remember calling them. I had great insurance at the time. Like, the job I had was cool. Great insurance. So, like, I can walk into anywhere and, like, they'll take care of me. Yeah, come here, just do this.
Right.
But I'm on the phone with this one place for, like, 45 minutes. I just remember being so sick that I hung up. And I went to the restroom, and I'm throwing up. And I'm in the shower, and I'm fucking curled up in this little fucking ball. And, like, shower's running. So, like, I thought that'd keep my lady from coming in. So, at least I got a little bit of time to shaping up. And she walked in, see me like that. I just felt like a fucking monster. I'm like, dude, like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to cold turkey, and it's not working. So she found the treatment center. She called. Everything was situated. She gave them my insurance card. She gave them my name, everything, boom, boom. All right, we'll check them in at 4:30. Mind you, she has class at 5. So I'm like, well, you got school. Like, I'll just go after you get out of school. Like, because I wanted to use bad. I'm like, let me go to the post office. I got to go drop these because, like, there was, and partake in my little bit, but, like, setting shit out or whatever. And, like, the people in San Francisco pay a lot of fucking money for pills, Like, so let me just go to the post office just to drop this off because I don't know how long I'm going to be gone. This guy already sent me the fucking money. Nobody sent me no fucking money. I just wanted to get in my car, go in there, let me use real quick, come back, and make an excuse on why I don't have to go to treatment. And she pumped the brakes. She was like, whether you go, she's like, all right, well, whether you go right now or not, I'm not going to school. I already called off. So now I'm like, well, fuck, like, all right. And it's a
Called
Thursday.
your bluff.
Right, and it's a Thursday, so I'm like, all right, well, treatment's only 3 days, like, it's a 3-day treatment, we're good. So so I'm like, all right, and she's reading, like, all the comments, like, this place saved my husband's life, they love him till he could love himself. And I'm like, yeah, they're fucking selling you. They're just going to use my insurance. But all right, let's go. So I remember walking in, we're doing the intake, and they do like the walkthrough, like to show my lady like, where I'm going to be for the next, 30 days, and I'm thinking 3 days, like it's Thursday. I'm going to get out of here on Sunday. We'll go to the beach. We're going to hang out. We're going to go to the cliff. The restaurant, everything's gonna be good. Back to normal, you know what I mean? Back popping. And hell, like the lady was like, yeah, it's a 30-day treatment. I remember looking at my lady, I'm like, no, like all puppy-eyed, like I can't do 30 days. Like, why would you put me here? Like, like what am I gonna do? Like, oh poor me, and it worked on my mom like that. I'm like, why is it not working on you? You know what I mean? Like my mom would have been like, no, we're getting him out of here, let's go, like my mom would enable me, I love my mother, like I love my mom. But she'll enable me until I die. Like, she'll just, like, it was always like, come live in Mexico. You'll get your, you have citizenship, so you'll work over there. Just come back and forth every day. She always said, you live like a king over here. You live like a king over here. And I'm like, oh, like, damn. It sounded good for a long time because there was times where I'd go to Mexico to get, like, you'll get the fake 30s, whatever. So, so my lady's reading me all the, she takes me there, and we're sitting there. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you can't keep me here no fucking 30 days. Like, I'm going to be here as long as I need to be here. As soon as I feel like I'm all right, I'm out those fucking doors. Like, nobody here is going to hold me back. Like, you guys are going to stop me. And sure enough, I bought into it, dog. Like, the second day in, I'm fucking crying, you know what I mean? I'm like, you're feeling everything, and I'm hurting, and I'm just asking them to give me something so it can stop. Like, you said you're going to give me some meds. Like, I remember being in the seat. I'm like, I'm not that stupid. In my head, I'm like, I'm not that fucked up. Then if I pick that up, because she's like, oh yeah, the lady doing the intake is like, oh yeah, what's his, so and so. She said his name. Was going to go get your meds. You'll be all right. We'll get you situated in about an hour. He's out there smoking a cigarette. So I'm like, who are you talking about? And in my head, I'm like, who is she talking about? It's probably got to be somebody else. He has to be in the program too. Then he has to be in treatment. No, dude, like that was who was supposed to be picking up my meds. So by the time I got my meds, like I'm probably like 2 days into like going cold turkey, you know? So it's like 8 o'clock at night and then, or 9 o'clock. And then it was like past like a certain hour. So they can only give me this. And I'm like, dude, like I'm taking 3 Xanax bars a day. It's like prescribed. I'm like I got a bottle prescribed in my name, like 3 Xanax bars a day. Like give me something to match that. And they were just like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, damn, like, you know, so it was bad. You know, I remember being in there sweating, fucking, you know, vomiting, throwing, you know, shit in my life away. And yeah, dude, it was scary. Cussing out my counselors by the 5th day. I'm like, fuck you guys only here for the money. Like, you guys don't really give a shit. Because it was like a real good, like, once I got the meds, everything was all good. Everything was cool. Like, all right, you got your taper, you got this, you're good. Then it was like, you know what, you're not good. You know, it was like I started going against the program. I went cold turkey off of their meds. And then one of the guys there, dude, like I ran into a son the other day, awkward situation. But anyway, ran into a son, he sells motorcycles. But this dude, he detoxed Johnny Cash. And we're sitting there, we're having a conversation, and he's just like, let's go for a walk. You know, like he's like, because you could see I'm not taking my meds, so let's go for a walk. And then he's asking, like, what's going on, you know, and made me feel human, you know. It was like, go out, take a walk. He's like, I bet you can't grab an orange from up there. And I knew what he was, like, I didn't know what he was doing, but now I see it, you know. So I felt human. I grabbed this fucking orange, boom, look, stupid, you know, and little things. So that, but yeah, by the second weekend, I went to a meeting with the program. With the treatment center. Didn't even want to be there because the day prior, we had like a visitation with my lady, and they only gave you an hour, and it was like real quick. Once that hour was, I'm talking about on the hour, all right, she has to go, like, and like my daughter's like not wanting to get out of my arms. She's like, no, like I don't want to leave, you know, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, dude, like I'm that piece of shit dad now. Like I'm a piece of shit. Like I'm the same shit my mom, you know, like my mom was spending Christmas in a treatment center. You know, I remember we go in, and they gave us like a gift, like, well, they gave her the gift to give to us, but like, you know, it was like a little, you know, 99-cent store toy or whatever, but I appreciated it, you know. It was like, damn, all right, cool. But now I'm like, my daughter's gonna go through that, you know. And we go to the Unity Day. I'm fucking telling everybody, like, I'm just being a dick. I'm like, yeah, whatever, I don't want to talk to anybody. Like, it's Unity Day at the, you know, out here in
At the Orange Show.
Mentone.
Oh, Mentone?
Yeah, it was in the. It was
yeah.
Last
year.
We were there 2 years, you know, about a year ago, and I was just didn't get what I could have got out of there. You know, they did like the what is that? The circle where it's like how much clean time you have.
The countdown.
The countdown.
Yeah.
And I was the newest person there, and I remember just being so embarrassed that I was just like, fuck. I put my head down. We went to the car, and everybody stopped me. Come here. Like, here, take this, read this, grab this. And I was just like, fuck, get away from me, like ducking and dodging. And this guy shares the next day. And talking about the, you know, people showing up to shut, you know, hopefully, fuck, I hope they're not shutting our gas off, or I hope they're not shutting our lights off, or it was CPS coming, you know, to talk to us, and my mom's like, just duck down, shut up, be quiet, like, they'll leave, you know. And I heard you share, and I was just like, damn, like, who told this dude how I grew up? You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm like, this isn't a real place right now. Like, this isn't like, you know, like everybody's fucking happy. Like, everybody says they were like this sick or that sick, and now you're happy and you're good. You have a good life going for you. So I went right up to you. I think it was at the meeting. You didn't even raise your hand when they were like, who has over a year, obviously, and then they're like, who's gonna ready for sponsorship? You didn't even raise your hand. I'm like, this fool looks like, you know, looks like somebody that I ran into before, but I was like, fuck it, let me go up and ask him, you know. And you told me, like, if you can take it serious, like, we can do something, but only for serious. And I remember right then and there, I was like, dog, like, I was so desperate and tired of like all this shit, like thinking I'm a shit dad and just all the stuff that I'm putting my family through, that I was like, dog, I'm gonna try anything. Whatever there is to try, like, let's try it. And immediately we got to step work, you know what I mean? And I've been lagging on that, you know, but you know, we got right to that. I never had like, you know, like, you know, someone like I never had a man tell me, you know, you're doing good, I'm proud of you. You know, and you told me that, you know, and I was just like, fuck, you know, like, all right. And you're like, I love you, dog. And I'm like in my head, I'm like, fool, you don't even know me. Like, once you find out who I am and what I've done, like, you're not gonna want to be around me. Like, so I try to keep that, you know. So you know, you're like, I love you, dog. You're doing good. Like, you know, keep it up. And I'm like, fuck, like, all right, this shit's working, you know.
You know what's funny, bro? Is I tell people all the time over the phone, you know, especially when they're like super new, like, I love you, bro, you know? And they won't say it back, bro. I don't think you said it back right away, you know what I'm saying? And it's always like, all right, we'll get you there, my boy. Like, don't trip, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's not like I tell people all the time, because it might sound generic, bro. Like, oh, yeah, how do you say you love everybody, right? But like, if you're an addict or an alcoholic, bro, I do love you because I am you. Yeah. I've been in your shoes before. I know what it feels like to be hopeless. I know what it feels like to feel like I'm failing my kids. I mean, fuck, I feel like that sometimes even clean, right? But especially when I'm loaded, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I see myself in a lot of people, bro. You know what I'm saying? I see myself in a lot of people. It's just like, yeah, I do love you. I do care about you. Like, I want you to succeed, you know? Yeah. And whether that's, you know, with me or not with me, like, I just want people to fucking, for me, I think the biggest thing, I want people to find what I found, right? Because I see so many people, and I've heard that over and over. Oh, you guys just want my money. Okay, cool, bro. Like, if that's how you feel, like, you're going to be like this the rest of your life, bro. Like, at the end of the day, dog, you know, any treatment is going to be a business, bro. It doesn't matter if it's profit, non-profit, it doesn't matter, bro, right? It's a business structure, right? But people don't get into those businesses to get rich, bro. Not everybody. There are some people that do, right? But the companies that I've worked for, bro, I won't work for an unethical company. I won't work for a place that isn't about helping the people, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'll leave places. I'll fucking do everything I got to do because I don't work in the field to get rich because I don't make a lot of money, bro. Right? I work in the field because personally I feel like it's God's calling and I want to be able to help, bro, right? And it's not like me and Mike, we were talking about it, right? Like, treatment is a springboard into recovery. It's like the first introduction to real recovery that you get, right? And if I could be the guy that could talk about a message about a program that's outside of that treatment center and what it's done for me, if I could be that attraction, then I'm doing my part. I'm being of service in that field, bro. Of course, I got to do my notes. I got to run my groups a certain way. I got to do all that. But if you come to one of my groups, you're going to hear the program. You're going to hear the steps. You're going to hear the literature, bro. You're going to hear it, dog. I'll reframe. Oh, yeah, we're running a group on humility. Well, this is what step 7 says about humility. Oh, we're running a group on making amends. Well, guess what? Amends isn't until 8 and 9. So sit your ass down and don't try to go home and make amends right away, right? Right. Like, I try to bring as much of the program as I can into what I do in the field because sometimes like someone like me or anybody who works in treatment who goes to like 12-step fellowships are the only exposure that client's going to get to what the fellowship has to offer. You know what I'm saying? And what better way to not promote, but to allow us to be the attraction to that program. Right. You know what I'm saying? So when I tell people, I tell my clients I love you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I love you, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be, because that's just what the program has taught me, bro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one more question we always ask at the end of the podcast. How much clean time do you have?
A year and 27 days.
A year and 27 days.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you do like on a daily basis, on a weekly basis for your recovery? What do you do to stay clean today?
Meetings are a big thing. The rooms are a big thing. So at least, you know, I swear I'm so busy, but I go to at least one meeting, you know, a week, try to go to 2. And I just have a gratitude list every morning, you know, whether I'm writing it or I'm just reading, you know, and adding to it. I have it in my notes, and I just, you know, have a gratitude list where it's like, this is what I'm grateful for, it's what I'm thankful for. I just remind myself of that, you know, and that's a big part of what helps me stay here, you know. At 6 months clean, my brother came into the program, and he's now 6 months clean, so.
Nice.
That's a fucking huge deal. Like, you know, a big burden off my back that I was telling you, like, you know, big stressor. But yeah, he's fucking clean. He's doing the damn thing and he's doing a great job at it. So just seeing it work in my life and seeing it work in other people's life after me, it's fucking great.
You know what's beautiful is you were that attraction to your brother that you saw in Adam.
And I don't know how.
And that's what we get to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, you know, I got told Adam, you know, as soon as I got out of treatment, somebody asked me to be their sponsor. I'm like, dog, I got like 45 days clean.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know what I'm doing yet. You know, I barely got step work under my belt, but
yeah, you're making it look good.
Right. You know, and it's just like, you know, my brother, you know, came to me desperate, you know, in a hopeless situation. And now I'm like, I was able to be that for somebody else,
yep.
You know, without getting anything in return. And it's like, dog, like just seeing him do good has been what's helping me in return, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like a competition now. It's like, I'm not going to let you get more clean time than me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm already 6
Yeah.
months ahead of you. Like, I'm at least keep that distance.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's what keeps me here.
All right, cool, man. You got anything else, Adam?
No, that's it, bro.
All right, Frankie. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate
yeah,
your
we appreciate it,
Yeah,
bro.
you guys
message.
appreciate that.
And yeah.
Yep. All right.
But you'll never know unless you walked up in my shoes.
As someone who struggled with addiction in the past, how does it feel to be able to give hope to others who are still struggling now?
You know, it's such an honor to be able to hear other people's experiences of life, to see how when faced with the very thing that was sent to destroy you, kill you and take you off forever didn't, but rather you have been given a second chance to give hope and be a light for those who are still in the dark. So don't be afraid to share your message to the world. You never know whose life you might be saving.